This is Howard Mechanic giving you another homestead update out here in the creek. This video is going to be a review of the Husqvarna 440 series. It's a chainsaw that I bought. Came highly recommended to me. I got a new one. Right out of the box, damn thing wouldn't start. Do it like most people do. I took it back to Lowe's, got my money, went and got another one basically at the end of the day. This chainsaw runs roughly 300, 350, depending on where you shop for one at. One thing I did like about the chainsaw is that it did come with an 18-inch blade on it, which I did like for this series as far as being a 440 series. Came with the 18-inch chainsaw bar. Did come with a nice chip blade on it. Nicest chip blade I ever had. To be honest with you, of all the chainsaws I've ever bought, as far as taking one out of the box, this was the best cutting one if you could ever hypothetically get it running. The chip blade does an outstanding job on it. Easy to replace. Easy to get another one. They have them in stock. A couple different manufacturers make the chain for it, an aftermarket or at the factory. My particular Lowe's does keep the chain bar and the chain in stock. So you have an incident, you can go get one. Wasn't very satisfied with the chainsaw. Just to be 100% honest with you, like I said, both of them, the hardest damn chainsaw I ever had to start. I've had $99 with I can start easier than this, And if I had to compare it to anything, I'd probably compare it to one of those $99 ones you buy at Walmart or some shit. And that's just the quality of it as far as starting it. And I'm gonna go over some of the reasons for it. First thing when I unbox it, one thing I did like about the chainsaw, if you go into any of this newer equipment that may or may not have emissions on it, is that it has easy directions on the back of it. I mean, the directions literally on the back of the damn thing, how to get this thing started. And let me tell you something, you're gonna need them, okay? They don't mean anything, but it was nice to actually put that there. You're probably gonna be using 1-800 number on it in the back of it more times you're gonna use the actual directions on how to start it. A couple things I don't like about the chainsaw. I own several chainsaws, by the way. A couple things I don't like about it, okay? One thing I don't like about it is how hard it is to start, obviously. This damn thing doesn't need, it's a scrap metal. It's a heap of plastic. You can't start the damn thing. One thing I don't like about it is the bubble. The bubble's behind the handle. And there's nothing you can do to get to it. If you're in the field and you have to take your gloves off to pump that bubble, that's what you're gonna have to do. You're not gonna be priming this thing in the field, which is gonna be pretty often, especially if you ever laid it sideways. And it's one of the few chainsaws I've ever owned that when I did get it started and you lay it sideways, it dies or it floods or all kind of weird shit happens to it. In the field, right out of the box pretty much. I've had it break down on me out in the field. You're gonna need a whole damn toolbox full of tools to work on this fucking thing, The lid's a little bit hard to get off. It's kind of cheesy, has some snaps on it, so there's some bolts on it. Which you're gonna be taking that thing off all the time, okay? Because both of them right out of the box had fuel leak problems. And a lot of it has to do with the actual design of the fuel tank in it, and I'll go over some of that for you. Some of the things I did like about the chainsaw, other than the 18-inch bar that it came with, is I like the handle on it. It has a good 3-4 finger pull handle on it, which you're gonna be using the shit out of, trying to get this damn thing started. I did like that about it. I did like the chain setup about it. One of the best chain setups I've seen. I know they have these newer ones with the you don't even need any tools to tighten the chain. You loosen it's a bunch of plastic springs and shit in there probably. I haven't owned one, This one has a 1 bolt chain setup on it. Chain stays tight, surprisingly, with compared to other chainsaws that I've owned. Has the 1 bolt quick setup. Did come with the tool for the chain. The thing I did like about the chainsaw is the oil fill and the gas fill actually has handles incorporated on the lids, which is something I've never owned before. I did like it. You don't have to use the tools. One of the few chainsaws I don't have to use a tool on to add gas, which is a lot, to run gas or put gas or oil in it. And that's something I did like about the chainsaw. Just so you know, I do run my chainsaws on pre-mixed gas out of a can. I damn near have to get the credit card out every time I got to go up there to get one of those damn things. But I can tell you from previous experience, I do have a lot better luck running these chainsaws on the gas out of the shit out of a fucking can, man. Doesn't have any ethanol in it. It's mixed correctly. You don't have to worry about mixing it. This one's not like that. This one, you're not going to even get close to running like a commercial piece of equipment. Like I said, this one did come highly recommended to me from people I know that cut cedar. They've had good luck with their Husqvarnas, usually the bigger ones than this. But I'm one of those weird people, just being a mechanic, I'm not gonna go spend $600, $700, $800. I'm one of those people, even as a mechanic, it's the opposite of what you think. I like to run something for 2-3 years. If it still has some life left in it, great. If not, I throw it in the fucking trash and I go buy another one. I don't need a $1,000 chainsaw I'm constantly working on. I'm a mechanic, and a few times I'm out working in the field, guess what? I need to pull the fucking string on it, pump the bubble on it, whatever, and I need the fucking thing to work, okay? And this machine isn't gonna do it. I'm just gonna let you know. I have had the carburetor part on it. Just fair warning, I am not a certified or licensed small engine repair mechanic. But like most mechanics, everything I've ever owned, I fucking take it apart and I fix everything myself, okay? This one's not easy to take apart. Don't like the carburetor on it. The carburetor set up on it's a piece of shit, and I'll give you some of the reasons for it, okay? The way they designed the carburetor on it, when you actually push the button that you can hardly get to, it doesn't actually work like an old school prime button. When you actually push the bubble, the actual fuel doesn't go directly into the carburetor in the choke feature. It actually goes through the vacuum pump located on the bottom, unfortunately, on the bottom of the actual carburetor barrel. And as you push the button, it shoots the fuel up into the vacuum operated carburetor on the bottom, fuel pump on the bottom, and then it injects it from there into the, all kind of fucking shit can happen to it. And I don't like the design of the gas tank on it. The return hose is not in fuel. The return hose dumps off directly right on top of the gas tank, which is some of the reason why it sucks air and you're constantly fucking with the bubble on it. If anybody Husqvarna is listening, use some free mechanical advice. The fucking return hose needs to be in fuel too. Just in case you have this thing sideways, upside down, all kind of fucking weird shit you might be doing with this thing, there's no chance that the fuel system become aerated. So if Husqvarna is listening, free advice for you, man. Put another 2 inches of fucking hose on the end of it, okay? Have had the carburetor apart. Finally got tired of fucking with it. I took the carburetor apart and didn't like it at one damn bit, to be honest with you. The carburetor's real hard to get off. You better have a whole fucking toolbox with you to get the thing off. It has a couple different tools. You need a couple different things to get it off. If you do it for a living, maybe you know how to do it all day long. But even as a mechanic, just taking something apart, I didn't like it. Didn't like the plastic associated with the carburetor. Carburetor has plastic, very little amount of metal carburetor, and then plastic. The actual manifold going from the head to the actual carburetor is made out of rubber. I would have replaced that if I'd have known it previously. The carburetor that I purchased for it, I bought a China one. I'll be honest with you, I bought it for like 18 bucks, 15 bucks, some shit off eBay. I bought a whole carburetor and all the shit, a bubble and all the new lines, all that fucking shit for it. And decided, I'm gonna spend 20 bucks on it. If I can't get around for 20 bucks, I'll credit 50 bucks, I'll move on. Go get another Echo, to be honest with you. But when I took the carburetor out, a little bit of hell. I did get the new one on there. The carburetor's hard to adjust. Just to let you know, it is a full spline drive adjustment. I did change that on the new carburetor I put on it so I can fuck with it. The carburetor adjustment, if you do adjust your own carburetor, is way deep down in there. The holes don't actually line up to the spline drive very well. Didn't like that about it at all, to be honest with you. Like most new carburetors I've noticed that I've owned is, if you're like me and you buy your oil in a gallon, the lid's a little too close to the plastic handle. Everything on this damn thing is plastic. The handle's plastic. Everything's plastic. All the damn thing ain't plastic on the fucking bar. You took this down to the scrap pile, scrap yard, and they'd give you about 2 cents for this thing. It just doesn't have any weight. All the weight on it is plastic. I do like the pull string on it. Like I said, it has a bigger handle. It's easy to pull. It has a good gear ratio on the pull. The clutch on it's good. I don't like the RPM range of this machine. I don't know if it's designed to run a chip chain, and that's the reason it doesn't run as high of an RPM as other chainsaws. I've bought $99 chainsaws from Walmart that have a high RPM. This doesn't run at a high RPM. Just gonna let you know. I've only ran it on this chip chain, maybe different, but with no fucking chain on it, the thing doesn't have as high as an RPM as other chainsaws that I've owned. So even running the chip chain on it, it takes a little bit longer to cut wood. It does do a good job chipping. Does do a good job of holding the torque of the chip. If you're real careful on how you're using the chain on a big log, I've cut some 14, 16 inch logs with this, trees down with this thing. And chip chain worked good. Torque, I don't know. I think I'd rather have had the high RPM. I think in a couple situations where I have got it jammed up, I think if I'd have had a little bit, another 100, 200 RPM on it, with or without the chip chain, I wouldn't have got jammed up. When it does get jammed up, it is kind of a trade-off. Like I said, you can take the fucking blade off this thing in 2 minutes, hanging upside down from a tree or whatever. The blade just comes off of it. Has a very easy curve to remove, I like. And the chain doesn't have a lot of slack in it. Very rarely have to slack, surprisingly with one bolt, going back to that, because the other chainsaw that I purchased this to replace was the Echoes, and you can't keep the fucking chains tight on those things. So that's my review for this thing. One of the other things I would mention, mention it, is it never dumps enough oil. It does right out of the box. Both of them leak fuel and oil out of this thing. You leave it in your garage for 2 days, you come back, it doesn't matter what position you have this thing in, it's a piece of shit. It leaks all the oil and all the gas out. And I haven't really done a lot of investigating on see why. A lot of the reason is that the way the carburetor's designed, okay? Carburetor on it, some of the linkage damn near touches the fuel lines. I didn't like that. I don't like the choke handle on it. The choke handle is also the on and off button. It's real cheesy. I bump into it all the time. You don't really know if that's what happened. You think you turned it sideways, you think it dies it sideways, and really actually hit the button on it. It's kind of a cheesy button. I don't like that. I don't like the cheesy button. Parts aren't easy to get for it, other than the chain. The air filter's oddball shit, some weird looking air filter you've never seen before. It's not something you're gonna clean in the field, and you're lucky if they have it in stock up at the store. So you may, by the end of the day, be taking your fucking sock off and using it as an air filter for this thing. If you're out in the field and you get this thing, for whatever reason, the carburetor gets, or the air filter gets fucked up in it. So that's just to give you a heads up on it. I haven't called and bitched about it. I'm just gonna let you know. I just cut my losses on it. You know, like I said, I put a new carburetor, and I've got it running better. Even the Chinese carburetor, I put some cuts in it so I can use a flathead screwdriver. I couldn't find my spline drive carburetor adjustment. I did get it running better. It does run. Just for grands, even with the new carburetor, I went out and ran it. I went out and cut probably about 30 fence posts with it, about some 8-inch logs with it, red cedar. And kind of going back again to the new carburetor on it, and me adjusting it, it doesn't run at a high RPM. It just doesn't run at a high RPM. I'm just gonna let you know, compared to other chainsaws. Torque is okay on it. But like I said, if it had a little bit more, I'd rather have the RPM, especially running a chip chain. I'd rather have the RPMs than the fucking torque on it. So, you know, that's my review. I'm gonna keep the chainsaw. It's something I already own. Unless someone wants to barter something for it, first person sits on this fucking property trying to barter for something, I'm gonna try to throw them this fucking chainsaw. You know, it's probably worth $100 running. It'd be hard to sell on Craigslist. It'd take me a fucking hour to get it running. But since I put the new carburetor on and adjusted the carburetor myself, I have had better luck getting it started. One of the things I did like about it is the directions on the back of it, going back to that. Do like that. It's somewhat accurate. But like I said, the way they have the fuel system hooked up, and I actually bought some replacement fuel line. I was going to replace it, but these are kind of molded. It's not something that's easy to replace the fuel lines on without doing much of horse shit. So that's my review on it. Would I buy another one? There ain't no fucking way, to be honest with you. And in a lot of ways, I wouldn't buy anything that's a Husqvarna. Because I'd rather the thing be falling apart than me not be able to start it. Okay, if you can't start the fucking thing, it's scrap metal, you know. And in this place, it's scrap plastic. You know, if you live in the city and you have one of those plastic recycle bins, that's where the fucking thing's gonna end up being. You know. Appreciate you watching. If you got a rude comment, leave that fucking thing at the bottom, man. Make it funny or something. Shit.